Good morning, everyone. Thank you all for being here. My name is Assemblymember Mark Gonzalez. I'm a proud resident of downtown Los Angeles, but also proud to represent the 54th Assembly District. I represent the 5th poorest district in the state. 85% of my district is renters. 70% of my district speaks another language other than English. And as you can hear from the construction here today, there is so much work, so much happening in downtown, but we cannot have the work and have everyone see it if the lights are completely out. And so we're gathering today to shine a light, quite literally, on a growing threat dimming our streets and endangering our neighbors: copper wire theft. Let me be clear, copper wire theft is not a victimless crime. Every stolen wire is more than metal ripped from the ground. It's light ripped from our communities. It's the street where children walk home from school left in the darkness. It's the small business owner closing early because the block that they work on feels unsafe. It's the senior waiting to help that never comes because a phone line went dead because they stole the copper wire from their neighborhood. Or both the seniors and the students who are waiting at a dark bus stop because the lights have been pulled from that area. In Los Angeles, last year alone, there were nearly 46,000 service requests for streetlight outages, nearly 40% due to copper theft, hitting the hardest neighborhoods that I represent in downtown Los Angeles: Boyle Heights, Westlake, Pico Union, and Lincoln Heights. Imagine that, entire blocks, entire communities plunge into darkness, not by nature, but by neglect and by greed. On the 6th Street Bridge behind me, once called the Ribbon of Light, thieves stripped 38,000 feet of copper, making $11,000, while taxpayers footed $2.5 million to repair. 2 years later, parts of that beautiful bridge remain dark, a symbol of both the scale of this problem and the urgency of our response today. This isn't just about the cost, though. It's about safety. It's about dignity. It's about the right of every neighborhood to shine. When our lights go out, so does a sense of security that keeps our communities thriving. Streetlights are not luxuries, they are lifelines. That's why I authored AB 476, a common sense, bipartisan measure to combat the crisis head on and protect California's critical infrastructure. This bill does 3 very simple things. It expands the reporting requirements for junk dealers and recyclers, including, for example, the weight, visible etchings, and serial numbers. Second, it prohibits possession of critical scrap metal without documentation, such as fire hydrants or fire department connections, manhole covers, or backflow devices. And lastly, it increases the penalties to reflect the true cost of these crimes from $3,000 to $5,000. It increases the range of those penalties for junk dealers or recyclers who knowingly buy or receive materials that have reasonably known belonging to something like a railroad, utility, or a government entity from $1,000 to $5,000. AB 476 has broad support across our state, from cities, from law enforcement, utilities, business leaders, and community advocates, and you'll hear from them this morning because everyone understands what's at stake. Californians are tired of paying the price for that theft that steals more than copper. It steals safety, it steals connection, and it steals community. Today we stand united as lawmakers, leaders, and neighborhood leaders to say enough is enough. It's time to turn the lights back on across California. And Governor Newsom, we are urging you to please sign this bill. Up next, we are joined by Los Angeles County District Attorney Nathan Hochman, who is on the front lines of prosecuting the organized theft rings and ensuring communities are safe from the city. Here's Nathan Hochman. Come on up. Thank you.
Thank you, Assemblymember Gonzalez. AB 476 needs to be signed by the governor, and it needs to be signed today. I remember when this 6th Street Bridge behind me opened up. It was an iconic bridge. You have views of Los Angeles from one end of the bridge to the next that you have nowhere else in this city. And at nighttime, when it got lit up, it was magical. And I thought when the lights went down a couple years ago that maybe the city was trying to save some money. Then I found out that the real reason why the 6th Street Bridge is not lit, why one of the most iconic landmarks in Los Angeles does not shine at night, is because copper wire thieves stole the copper. They stole miles and miles of copper. They basically got $11,000 for making the 6th Street Bridge dark, and it's going to cost $2.5 million to replace. And so when I started to learn about the copper wire theft problem throughout this county, what I found out is it's not just a bridge. We have streetlights throughout this entire county that are dark at night. They're trying to repair these things over and over and over again. They have limited resources to do that. And where does that impact people? Johnny Wachter. Johnny Wachter was the actor who got killed right outside of downtown near 11th Street in downtown. Now, he got killed because three individuals were trying to steal his catalytic converter, but why did they choose Johnny Wachter's car at 3 a.m. at that exact spot? Because the street lights were out. It was dark. And his car was susceptible to that type of theft, and he ended up losing his life from people who were stealing his catalytic converter under the cover of darkness by those street lights being out because of the copper wire thieves. So I am a huge supporter of 476 for this very simple proposition. What it does is it strengthens the laws against junk and metal recycled dealers. Because think about it, copper wire thieves do not steal the copper to use it. You don't rip out copper from a streetlight. You don't rip out copper from telecommunications wires in order to what? Use it? Absolutely not. You steal that copper to turn it into money, which means you're giving this illegally obtained copper to junk and metal recyclers, and they're handing you money. So how do we prevent that? Well, sure, we can go after all the people as they're stealing the copper wire in real time. That is very, very difficult. Or we can cut off the source of money to these illegal copper wire stealers, which is to go after the junk and metal recyclers. So here's my message: when, not if, AB 476 gets passed and they enhance the laws against these junk and metal recyclers, we're coming after you. We're going to make sure that you are then abiding by the law, and if not, you're going to be looking at felonies. You're going to be looking at thousands of dollars of fines, and we're going to come after each and every one of the illegal junk and metal recyclers, and we will be absolutely relentless. The beautiful thing about AB 476 is it's not a city law. It's not an LA County law. It's a state of California law. And why is that so important? It's so important because the illegal copper wire thieves can't just go ahead and go from LA City to LA County, or go from LA County to the surrounding counties. Now every single one of the 58 counties in California will have this type of enhanced regulation of the junk and metal recyclers to hopefully put the illegal ones out of business. So, the people who love AB 476, the public. The people who are tired and fed up of their streetlights being dark, tired and fed up of having their internet systems go offline because the copper metal thieves thought some telecommunications wiring with fiber optic cable had copper in it. It doesn't have copper. But they're looking for it. They cut the wires, and 50,000 customers lost their internet service. So the people who love 476 are the public. Who else loves 476? The legitimate junk and recycling centers out there. They have been fighting these illegitimate crooks who've been taking advantage of this illegal copper, so they love AB 476. So I am going that the only group who does not like AB 476 are the criminals. If you're a copper wire thief, then you're calling the governor right now and saying, don't sign AB 476. If you're an illegal junk and metal recycler, you're calling the governor right now and saying, don't sign AB 476. But I'm telling you that I am absolutely convinced that Governor Newsom is not a handmaiden to the crooks. He's not a handmaiden to the illegal businesses. What he wants to support are the public, the legitimate businesses, and I am absolutely convinced that when he hears the message coming out of this press conference, he is going to take that pen, rush to his desk, and sign AB 476. Thank you very much.
Thank you to our district attorney. We've been working hand in hand with your staff in Sacramento. AB 476 truly is that lifeline. AB 476 can totally flip the switch and make sure that we have the lights on here. I'd like to introduce another friend of mine who anytime, even outside of this issue, takes my phone calls with anything that's happening in LA County. He's been a longtime friend and a leader in our public safety community. Please welcome Los Angeles County Sheriff Luna, whose department has been leading enforcement efforts countywide to protect our infrastructure and hold metal theft offenders accountable. Sheriff Luna.
Thank you, Assembly Member. My name is Robert Luna. I'm the Sheriff of Los Angeles County, and I'm here to also urge our governor to please sign Assembly Bill 476. I want to give you some specific examples from a law enforcement perspective of just how much this challenge impacts every resident here in Los Angeles County. The cost of repairing the damage left behind often exceeds $100,000. Sometimes a lot more than that, and that's eventually passed on to all of the customers. Damages to electrical wiring, telephone cables, fiber optic lines can cause massive service disruption to utilities, telecommunications, and transit, as has been explained before. But please pay attention to this. We have had incidences where even the 911 communication lines that law enforcement and fire departments rely upon have been disrupted by these crimes, as was the case in Lancaster in 2024 and in the city of Cerritos earlier this year. In August of this year, our Major Crimes Bureau investigators arrested a serial copper theft wire thief who targeted communication vaults in Norwalk, La Mirada, Whittier, and Downey. He pled guilty and was sentenced to 3 years in state prison to be served in the Los Angeles County Jail. He caused over $200,000 in damage and disrupted telephone and internet services for thousands of customers. In some cases, thieves pose as electrical or telecommunication contractors, as they did in Lancaster earlier this year, where they were in a bucket truck retrieving copper wire from poles up above, and I just had some really sharp deputies stop, investigate, and they were stealing the wires. And again, that impacts every resident. These thieves, nothing is off limits. Suspects have stolen metal grave markers from historic cemeteries in both Compton and Carson, the copper wire from already vulnerable, the Palisades and Eaton fire burn areas, which in my opinion is absolutely unacceptable. Even metro passenger stations have been targeted as well. Thieves often sell the stolen metal to scrap dealers at both legitimate and black market locations. The Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department is committed to combating metal theft and apprehending those who commit these crimes. And our efforts include educating our personnel on how to recognize and deter metal theft and increase patrols in areas where metal theft may occur, partnering with the Los Angeles Police Department, Heavy Metal Task Force, and the Federal Bureau of Investigation, because a lot of these impacts do impact Homeland Security from that perspective, and then collaborating with our business partners in private industry and utility and communications provider. And I can tell you this, and this message is for individuals who are purchasing these metals from individuals who are stealing them. We're going to go after you. So the next time somebody comes into your place of business and they're trying to sell this, there's a very good chance it may be an undercover deputy sheriff from the Los Angeles County Sheriff's Department or our partners at the LAPD. So I'm just warning you, be very cautious, because this is completely unacceptable. You already heard what Assembly Bill 476 does. So on behalf of our law enforcement partners who stand together to combat metal theft and protect the infrastructure of our county and our city, thank you. And I also just want to take a second to thank Assembly Member who brought this forward, Mark Gonzalez. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sheriff Luna. Thank you so much. And it truly does also take local partnerships as well. We've been working together with the city council to come up with measures like this. And on day one, this council member stepped up and said, I want to continue to help to provide well-lit communities and be that champion with that and work with you on that. Council member representing the 14th district, Council member Isabel Jurado.
Thank you, Assemblymember Gonzalez. Good morning, everyone. I'm Councilmember Isabel Jurado, proud to represent District 14, which includes downtown LA, Boyle Heights, El Sereno, and Lincoln Heights, neighborhoods that have been too often left in the dark by failing infrastructure and the surge of copper wire theft. I'm here today to talk about public safety in its fullest sense. Public safety begins with the equitable delivery of services. It's working streetlights, it's functioning traffic signals, and reliable utilities, the things that keep our neighborhoods strong, connected, and resilient. In CD14, senoras, running clubs, members that are here right now, and kids walk, run, get home in the dark. Commuters trying to get home from work face unsafe conditions when lights and signals fail, and small businesses go without internet services for months at a time. Streetlight outages have more than doubled in the city since 2021, with nearly 2,000 reports in Boyle Heights alone last year. When essential services fail in neighborhoods in my district, it's not just inconvenient, it's inequitable. What's worse, we've spent millions repairing damage from copper wire theft, money that could have gone instead to city services, especially at a time when our budget is stretched thin. And let's speak about the beauty that is the 6th Street Bridge that everybody's been talking about. Last year in our budget cycle, I fought hard to make sure that we were going to relight and that we were going to fortify the 6th Street Bridge by the 2028 Olympics in partnership with the Bureau of Engineering and the street lighting here at the city. But fixing infrastructure alone isn't enough. Systems must be protected to prevent future disruptions, and that's exactly why AB 476 is so critical. These challenges existed before I took office, and past strategies of reactive, punitive actions didn't stop the copper wire theft. And by the time arrests are made, the lights are already out. AB 476 shifts the focus to prevention, transparency, and accountability. It makes sure that families aren't left in the dark and that public resources serve residents equitably and effectively. Across CD14, we're already taking action to make neighborhoods safer. Major street lighting upgrades are underway to repair the outages, installing improved technology and prevent future service disruptions. Graffiti abatement and expanded cleanup services on the 6th Street Bridge are protecting this landmark and its infrastructure for the long term. Every light we repair, every signal we restore is increased public safety. When our infrastructure works, students can get to school, people can walk home at night, and local businesses can do better. And public safety starts with city services that work for everyone. I urge Governor Newsom to sign this legislation and build equity into every neighborhood across LA. AB 476, and thank you to Assemblymember Gonzalez for putting this up, is a win for our neighborhoods and a win for every Angelino who deserves to live in a community that is safe, connected, and empowered. Thank you.
Thank you, Council Member. Next, a leader in supporting innovative solutions from just down the street, our city's infrastructure challenges, and one of the co-sponsors of AB 476, Matt Peterson, President and CEO of the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator.
Thank you, Assemblymember. My organization that I run, the Los Angeles Clean Tech Incubator, is a close partner of the city. Please come visit our campus not far from here if you haven't been. But I would just want to say why we co-sponsored AB 476 with the Assembly member is because we've seen as an organization focused on not just helping create opportunities for people who are underrepresented in our communities in green jobs and clean tech businesses, but how do we bring the solutions for the green economy to every neighborhood? That includes EV charging. And one of the things that we're challenged by copper theft is reliability and affordability. Affordability of maintaining basic protections of street lighting, maintaining EV chargers for that matter. If we're looking at how we get people into electric vehicles and we're seeing more and more vehicles on the road, we need to make sure those chargers work and that they're reliable. Copper theft makes that more expensive, leads to people thinking, oh, I can't drive an electric car because the charger's not working. Well, if we think about where we're seeing more and more vehicles on the road, if you've driven an Uber or a Lyft, you've probably been in an electric car. More of those people are, more of the drivers are using EVs because it's more affordable for them long term. How do we make sure they have the charging they need in the neighborhoods they live in? Often they live in apartment buildings where they don't have charging within the parking areas. How do we make sure the innovations that the city of Los Angeles has been advancing through street lighting and putting charging on, the Bureau of Street Lighting in the city of LA has been the leader in California and therefore the world really in getting EV charging tied to our street lighting, and if that copper wire is, not only is the street light not going to work, that charger's not going to work. And those chargers are critical to help people who are making a living off of driving an electric vehicle. It's also about showing the world when they arrive in 2028 that we know how to lead here in Los Angeles, that we know how to maintain beautiful infrastructure like the 6th Street Bridge, that we know how to maintain basic things like EV chargers and street lights throughout our neighborhood. That's why it's so important the governor signed AB 476. Thank you.
Thank you, Matt. AT&T California, for example, has the perspective of our telecommunication providers who know firsthand how copper wire theft disrupts critical communications and services. I'd like to welcome Lupita Sanchez Cornejo, Regional Vice President of External and Legislative Affairs for AT&T California.
Thank you, Assemblyman Gonzalez. Good morning, Assemblymember D.A. Hochman, Sheriff Luna, LA City Councilmember Jurado, LA Police Deputy Chief Hurtado, and everyone here today. My name is Lupita Sanchez Cornejo, Regional Vice President for AT&T External Affairs in our Greater Los Angeles region. First and foremost, we are in support of AB 476 and urge Governor Newsom to sign the bipartisan legislation to combat copper wire theft, strengthen law enforcement tools, and protect California's critical public communications infrastructure. AT&T has experienced an alarming increase in copper thefts and vandalism to our network in recent years, specifically in California and more specifically in Los Angeles, where we see the highest rate of copper theft in our network. The demand for copper worldwide has caused the price to soar to nearly $5 a pound, driving the theft. Legacy telephone cables have copper content, making them a target for copper theft. AT&T has experienced close to 7,000 copper theft incidents this year alone, with losses exceeding $60 million, more than 2/3 of this from the state of California. A significant portion of these incidents have occurred in Los Angeles, and a high rate of these are occurring across the nation. So far in 2025, across California, AT&T has experienced nearly 2,000 incidents of copper theft. That's nearly 2,000 times our critical communications infrastructure has been targeted by criminals, leaving public safety, businesses, and residents to experience service disruptions. In Los Angeles County, there are more than 500 copper thefts in 2024, with a cost of over $20 million to replace or repair stolen or vandalized copper. So far in 2025, there have been more than 1,300 copper thefts in the county, with a cost of over $26 million to replace or repair stolen or vandalized copper in this year alone. In 2024 and 2025 year to date, 95% of the thefts across the county were in the city of Los Angeles. 95%. When copper cable is illegally removed from our network, it impacts our customers' ability to connect to voice, broadband services, and more importantly, to connect to emergency services when they need the most. AT&T is at the forefront of this effort to hold bad actors accountable for copper theft and to prevent future theft from damaging our much-needed communications infrastructure. We are addressing these crimes by a three-pronged approach: legislative reform, partnering with local law enforcement nationally, regionally, and at the state level. internal protection of our assets and our critical infrastructure. We have implemented several infrastructure hardening measures to help deter further thefts, including securing the entry points to our network infrastructure, increasing surveillance and sensory technology, installing metal casings to protect cables, adding traceable markings and paint on copper wiring, locking and welding manhole lids to prevent unauthorized access. But to truly address this problem at its root, we need to rely on strong engagement with local municipalities and law enforcement and with our valued community members. We are working closely with local law enforcement agencies throughout California and right here in Los Angeles to identify and prosecute those responsible for copper theft. We have partnered with LAPD since 2022, when we initially started to see a spike in copper theft in LA. To aid in this goal, in June of 2025, AT&T announced a significant new reward up to $20,000 for information that leads to the arrest and conviction of individuals involved in copper cable thefts or the attempted sale or purchase of stolen copper from AT&T across California. This one-of-a-kind investment demonstrates how far we are willing to go to help the state and local municipalities put a halt to the rising crime. Copper theft is not just a telecommunications issue. It's a public safety issue, an economic issue, and a community issue. We've seen that as we speak out, take coordinated action, and pursue enforcement aggressively, we make progress. AT&T remains fully committed to being a part of the solution, whether be it through infrastructure investments, our partnerships, or our public safety engagement efforts. We are grateful for the leadership of Assemblymember Gonzalez and all of the leaders here today and the dedication of law enforcement agencies across the region for treating this issue with urgency and the seriousness it demands. I'm happy to speak in Spanish. AT&T ha experimentado cerca de 7,000 incidentes de robo de cobre en solamente este año. La pérdida es más de $60 millones en el estado de California. Estos incidentes ocurren en la ciudad de Los Ángeles con mucha gravedad. Hasta ahora, en el 2025, en todo California, AT&T ha visto más de 2,000 incidentes de robo de cobro. Estamos aquí urgiendo al gobernador que firme AB 476, apoyado por el asamblista y todos aquí. Muchas gracias.
Gracias. Thank you, Lupita. And as many of you have seen over the last couple of weeks, we just broke ground on the LA Convention Center, and that truly does take a partnership. And you're hearing from so many folks here who also have their stake in that. Yes, applause for that. But it also takes a good leader to help us bring the business community, the labor community, and residents in the area to make that happen. But we can only make that happen if the lights are on. So with that, we'd like to invite up Nella McOsker, the president and CEO of the Central City Association.
Good morning, everyone. I love a bustling sound to downtown in the morning, but our crowd could also be that. My name is Nella McOsker. As the Assembly member mentioned, I'm the president and CEO of Central City Association. And you've already heard quite compelling reasons to care about this bill, to see the interconnectivity between it and the other challenges we are trying to solve. But I'm going to bring another reason that's very close to our work at CCA. CCA represents businesses, institutions, and nonprofits who have a vested interest in downtown Los Angeles, because downtown Los Angeles is the driver of success in the city of Los Angeles and across the region. We have seen, since the pandemic, a very sluggish return of this important economic center. And as a result, in the last weeks, we have released Revive DTLA, an urgent recovery plan for the heart of Los Angeles. It's a 90-day roadmap developed with the input of our members and to encourage safety, cleanliness, economic vitality in downtown. We need to support the businesses, the institutions, and the residents in downtown Los Angeles because of their role in the rest of the city. I really appreciate some of the points that have been made already, and I want to commend Councilmember Jurado for connecting this important issue today to the budget. What we see in downtown Los Angeles is about 4 zip codes. Historically, they have contributed about 30% of the city's unrestricted revenue categories: hotel tax, business tax, parking tax. In the last couple of years, business tax has decreased by almost 20%, somewhere between 18 and 20%. If we are not figuring out how to keep these businesses open, we are hampering our own ability to fix infrastructure not only in downtown, but across the entire city. I also very much appreciate that the district attorney is connecting this issue across the state, because the governor and all of our leaders in Sacramento would do well to focus on downtowns. We know that we need recovery in these spaces across the state. So thank you, Assemblymember Gonzalez, for leading this bill. Thank you to all of the public safety leaders who are standing with us today. Hear that this community deeply understands the interconnectivity of these issues and is looking for ways not only to revive our amazing spaces in downtown, but see the way in which that helps uplift and support other communities who rely on this revenue to survive. Thank you very much. Let's get this thing signed. Let's go, Governor Newsom.
Next, just a couple of more speakers, but somebody that I've worked in this area for 15 years in several different capacities, and I've obviously seen the changes that it's gone through, but what hasn't changed is our community leaders. And I always say community leaders don't have term limits. And this is one of those individuals that has worked her butt off, comes from Dolores Mission. She's the co-founder of a running club called Running Mommies, just down the street on the other side of this bridge, which is a grassroots running club that creates community and celebrates womanhood across Los Angeles. But one of the other conversations that we had at Dolores Mission when I was running, or just, in general in the vicinity, was the fact that crime is going up, but so is folks who are participating in gangs, and those folks who are getting away with it, and the neighbors who've spent their blood, sweat, and tears to pay for these houses that have not been changed but are still living in the neighborhood, and they don't want it to change, don't feel safe. Even if it's just something as simple as getting an insurance adjuster to come out, they don't feel safe as well, just for something like their car. But somebody who's been leading those efforts, somebody who I like to call muy chingona, who's been working her butt off, is Raquel Roman, the Executive Director of Proyecto Pastoral.
Gracias, asambleísta Mark González, por la introducción. Buenos días, mi nombre es Raquel Román y soy la directora ejecutiva de Proyecto Pastoral en Dolores Mission en la comunidad de Boyle Heights, y también, como ha sido mencionado, cofundadora de un grupo de mujeres que corren Running Mommies. Hoy estoy aquí para alzar la voz en nombre de familias que viven, trabajan y sueñan en nuestras comunidades. Con urgencia pedimos que el gobernador Newsom firme el proyecto de ley AB 476. Quiero comenzar reconociendo una verdad importante. Nuestra comunidad está pasando por dificultades económicas muy reales. Muchas familias están luchando para pagar la renta, para mantener a sus hijos, para sobrevivir en medio de alto costo de vida. Entendemos que cuando hay necesidad, algunas personas buscan maneras desesperadas de salir adelante. Pero también debemos decir con claridad y con amor por nuestra comunidad que este no es el camino. El robo de cobre no solo es un delito, sino que está causando daños profundos a la seguridad y la dignidad de nuestros vecindarios. Cada vez que se roban cables o piezas de metal de la infraestructura pública, nuestras calles quedan a oscuras. Esa oscuridad tiene consecuencias graves. Las familias ya no pueden caminar con tranquilidad por su propio barrio. Las mujeres que deberían poder correr o hacer ejercicio a cualquier hora del día se sienten vulnerables. Nuestra comunidad de corredores y caminantes merecen calles seguras. Nuestros niños tienen la oportunidad limitada de practicar deportes o jugar al aire libre al anochecer. Necesitamos hacer algo mejor para ellos. Personas mayores y trabajadores que regresan tarde a casa lo hacen con temor. Y lo más doloroso, como lo han dicho, ya hemos perdido vidas por la falta de iluminación y cruces peatonales seguros. En Boyle Heights, problema de servicios urbanos es una amenaza directa para la seguridad pública. El proyecto de ley AB 476 nos ofrece herramientas concretas para enfrentar este problema. Sus tres componentes principales son esenciales. Uno, mayor control y documentación en las recicladoras y yonqueros. Dos, prohibición específica sobre la posesión de metales de infraestructura pública sin comprobantes. Y tres, multas más altas y proporcionales al daño. Cada día que pasa sin la firma de esta ley representa más riesgos, más calles oscuras, más miedo y más dolor para nuestras familias. No estamos hablando de estadísticas, estamos hablando de madres, niños, abuelas, abuelos, trabajadores y jóvenes que merecen sentirse seguros en su propio vecindario. Por eso hoy le pedimos directamente al gobernador que firme AB 476 y ayúdenos a proteger la vida, la seguridad y la dignidad de nuestras comunidades. Boyle Heights y muchas otras comunidades como la nuestra no puede esperar más. Merecemos alumbrado, movilidad segura y paz en nuestras calles. Gracias. Raquel Román, directora ejecutiva de Proyecto Pastoral, Executive Director Proyecto.
And finally, as many of you know, downtown is growing, and so are our residents. And after the pandemic, we saw a massive increase of folks. As we're building downtown, we have to build infrastructure. We also have to build a lively downtown, but that includes its residents. Most of our residents, unfortunately, don't feel safe going from the grocery store, going to their work. And part of that is because when the lights are out, they don't feel safe even walking, because it gives perpetrators the opportunity to take advantage of that moment. And so leading that example and helping us to push back and to fight back, especially with this bill, I'd like to invite up Downtown Residents Association's member and founder, Leslie Ridings.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Leslie Ridings, and thank you, La Señorita Roman, for your comments and our neighbors across the river. I'm co-founder of the Downtown Los Angeles Residents Association, a grassroots organization of downtown residents by residents, for residents by residents, that works to improve the quality of life in downtown LA for the 90,000 people who live and work here. I'm here today to express residents' strong support for AB 476 and urge Governor Newsom to sign it as we overlook the 6th Street Bridge, a symbol for one of the ways that my community has gone dark and fallen victim to copper wire theft. The number one issue residents downtown say is holding our community back each year in an annual community survey is public safety. When people don't feel safe in their neighborhood, they avoid downtown, and our community loses the visitors, investment, and public programming that dense urban neighborhoods depend on. This is why we've been advocating for solutions like AB 476. Year after year, downtown is the neighborhood hardest hit by illegal tampering and copper wire theft, leaving blocks in darkness and making everyday trips difficult and, at times, frightening. In fact, 40% of our streetlights are out in downtown. No one should be afraid to walk down the streets of their community. No one. Not in downtown, nor anywhere else in this great state. And as the council member said earlier, one of the simplest and most effective ways to address these safety concerns is to keep the lights on. Well-lit streets deter antisocial behavior, decrease crimes by up to 30%, and invite the foot traffic that fuels communities like our own. That's why one of our first collaborative efforts with the council member Jurado's office was advocating for street lighting enhancements, and we thank her for her work on that. Thank you, council member. Took immediate action. Thank you so much. And that's also why we stand here in partnership with our Assembly member Mark Gonzalez here today. AB 476 is a practical, common sense step towards a brighter future. It strengthens enforcement against copper theft, and the bill targets bad actors while preserving legitimate recycling. This matters for downtown and for neighborhoods across California. With focused bills and tools like AB 476 and sustained investment in communities like downtown, we can make downtown LA and neighborhoods across our state safer, brighter, and more welcoming for everyone. So on behalf of the Downtown Los Angeles Residents Association, we stand with this coalition and we urge Governor Newsom to sign AB 476. Let's protect residents, support economic revitalization, and keep the lights on so DTLA can keep leading the way for Los Angeles and for California. Thank you.
No, I did not steal this. I wanted to show everybody what copper wire theft looks like. This is what's being taken from our communities. This is what's being taken from our neighborhoods. Everything you heard from today is what is being stolen, taken, and recycled without any major penalties. And what our district attorney and what our sheriff said, having folks out there to monitor this, but also the folks who are selling this illegally and are collecting from this. And so thank you to all of our speakers who joined us here today. Copper wire theft just isn't a nuisance. It's a direct attack on public safety. It's an attack on our infrastructure, and it's an attack on our very fabric of our communities. AB 476, that switches the switch, is our answer. It gives law enforcement the tools to act, our neighborhoods to the protection they deserve, and our infrastructure the safeguards it needs to stay strong and to stay bright. Governor Newsom, it's time to turn the lights back on for California. Sign AB 476 to stand with us to protect communities from darkness and from literal and from symbolic darkness. Because this fight isn't just about copper. It's about connection. It's about safety. It's about restoring trust in the promise that every Californian deserves to live in a neighborhood that shines and that shines bright. Together we can hold thieves accountable. Together we can keep our streets lit, our schools open, and our businesses thriving. Together we can make California that big blue beacon of hope that will continue to shine. And as we prepare for the world, for Los Angeles needs to be prepared for the world. I want to thank you, and with that, I want to thank the organizations who've joined us here today. Sponsors of the bill, League of California Cities, San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan, Electric Vehicle Charging Association. Yeah, give them all a round of applause. LA Clean Tech Incubator, Office of Los Angeles City Attorney Heidi Feldstein Soto, Miguel Sangalong, Executive Director, General Manager of Bureau of Street Services and Lighting, LA Chamber, SA Recycling, Downtown LA Industrial Business Improvement District, Arts District Business Improvement District, Downtown LA Neighborhood Council, and Arts District Little Tokyo Neighborhood Council. Am I missing anybody? All right, big round of applause for that. And with that, I'll open the floor for any questions on 476. Remember, 476 makes the switch. All right.